Hello. I'm actually recording this before midnight. Hello to all my podcasters on is it Spotify? Um, welcome. I'm shooting video. See, I should do live video. I've done some live video. Nobody shows up, so I just shoot my videos pre-record, but I don't edit them. I just put them up like they are. Today I'm reading from American Captivity Narratives. This is from an English course I took in the master's level English class in New York City. To be a teacher in English, a teacher, you have to keep going to get your master's. You have to take exams. 2 exams? You have to take 2 exams to even become a teacher to get your license. Then you have to take a master's level course and you have to take ongoing courses. All that the teachers have to do just to teach the children how to be thoughtless, because that's basically what our school system did. Matter of fact, we was doing most of the work. I don't know what the children could have not even shown up. They could have just came in, wrote their names, and then just left. That's why we made the work so easy, but they couldn't pass an exam because there was no rigor. Because if there was rigor, they wouldn't do it. They would fall asleep. They would cut class. They would drop out. And then the teacher would get blamed. But if you had a system that, really was about learning and educating young people, and you said, look, young people, you're going to have to move up to this standard, then it would be a completely different story. Then I'd be teaching. I'd probably still be doing videos at night. Well, no, because grading papers wouldn't be so difficult. So yeah, I'd probably still be doing videos and this and that, but that's another story. American Captivity Novels and the Restoration of Mary Rowlandson. That's what we'll be reading this week. On the 10th of February in 1675 came the Indians with the great numbers upon Lancaster. Their first coming, I always forget to do this. Wait a minute. Get the volume up. Okay, now. Let's start again. A narrative of the captivity and restoration of Mrs. Mary Rowlandson. On the 10th of February, 1675, came the Indians with great numbers upon Lancaster. The first coming was about sunrising, hearing the noise of some guns. We looked out. Several houses were burning, and the smoke ascending to heaven. There were 5 persons taken in one house, the father and the mother and a suckling child. They knocked on the head. The other 2 they took and carried away alive. There were 2 others who, being out of their garrison upon some occasion, were set upon. One was knocked on the head, the other escaped. Another there was who, running along, was shot and wounded, and fell down. He begged of them his life, promising them money, as they told me. But they would not hearken to him, but knocked him in the head, and stripped him naked, and split open his bowels. Another, seeing many of the Indians about his barn, ventured and went out, but was quickly shot down. There were 3 others belonging to the same garrison who were killed. The Indians, getting up upon the roof of the barn, had advantage to shoot down upon them over their fortification. Thus these murderous wretches went on, burning and destroying before them. At length they came and beset our own house, and quickly it was the dolefullest day that ever mine eyes saw. So this is Mary Rowlandson speaking. The house stood upon the edge of a hill. Some of the Indians got behind the hill, others into the barn, and others behind anything that could shelter them. From all which places they shot against the house. so that the bullets seemed to fly like hail, and quickly they wounded one man among us, then another, and then a third. About 2 hours, according to my observation, in that amazing time, they had been about the house before they prevailed to fire it, which they did with flax hemp, which they brought out of the barn, and there being no defense about the house, only two flankers at two opposite corners, and one of them not finished. They fired it once, and it ventured out and quenched it. But they quickly fired again, and that took. Now is the dreadful hour come, that I have often heard of in time of war, as it was the case of others. But now mine eyes see it. Some in our house were fighting for their lives, others wallowing in their blood, the house on fire over our heads, and bloody heathen ready to knock us on the head, if we stirred out. Now might we hear mothers and children crying out for themselves and one another, Lord, what shall we do? Then I took my children and one of my sisters, hers, to go forth and leave the house. But as soon as we came to the door and appeared, the Indians shot so thick that the bullets rattled against the house, as if one had taken a handful of stones and threw them, so that we were fain to get back. We had 6 stout dogs belonging to our garrison, but none of them would stir, though another time, if any Indian had come to the door, they were ready to fly upon him and tear him down. The Lord hereby would make us the more to acknowledge his hand, and to see that our help is always in him. But out we must go, the fire increasing and coming along behind us, roaring, and the Indians gaping before us with their guns, spears, and hatchets to devour us. No sooner were we out of the house, but my brother-in-law, being before wounded in defending the house, in or near the throat, fell down dead, whereat the Indians scornfully shouted and hollowed, and were presently upon him, stripping off his clothes. The bullets flying thick, one went through my side, and the same, as would seem, through the bowels and hand of my dear child in my arms. One of my elder sister's children, named William, had then his leg broken, which the Indians perceiving, they knocked him on the head. Thus were we butchered by those merciless heathen, standing amazed, with the blood running down to our heels. My elder sister, being yet in the house, and seeing those woeful sights, the infidels hailing mothers one way and children another, and some wallowing in their blood, and her eldest son telling her that her son William was dead and myself was wounded. She said, and Lord, let me die with them, which was no sooner said, but she was struck with a bullet, and fell down dead over the threshold. I hope she is reaping the fruit of her good labors, being faithful to the service of God in her place. In her younger years she lay under much trouble upon spiritual accounts, till it pleased God to make the precious scripture take hold of her heart. 2 Corinthians 12:9. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee. More than 20 years after I have heard her tell how sweet and comfortable that place was to her. But to return, the Indians laid hold of us, pulling me one way and the children another, and said, come, go along with us. I told them that they would kill me. They answered, if I were willing to go along with them, they would not hurt me. Oh, the doleful sight that now was to behold at this house. Come behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he has made in the earth. Of 37 persons who were in this one house, none escaped either present death or a bitter captivity, save only one, who might say as he, Job 1:15, and I only am escaped alone to tell the news. There were 12 killed, some shot, some stabbed with their spears, some knocked down with their hatchets. We when we are in prosperity, oh, the little that we think of such dreadful sights, and to see our dear friends and relations lie bleeding out their hearts, blood upon the ground. There was one who was chopped into the head with a hatchet and stripped naked, and yet was crawling up and down. It is a solemn sight to see so many Christians lying in their blood, some here and some there, like a company of sheep torn by wolves, all of them stripped naked by a company of hellhounds, roaring, singing, ranting, and insulting, as if they would have torn our very hearts out. Yet the Lord, by his almighty power, preserved a number of us from death. For there were 24 of us taken alive and carried captive. You notice, this is why you always had to have soldiers, because a lot of these people living on the frontier, they couldn't really defend themselves. And the funny thing about this story is she's not telling what happened before. How did these people end up on this land with these cabins and all of this stuff like that? It's like when the kid hits you and you hit them back and the teacher only sees you. That's what always happens. I had often before this said that if the Indians should come, I should choose rather to be killed by them than to be taken alive. But when it came to the trial, my mind changed. Their glittering weapons so daunted my spirit that I chose rather to go along with those, as I might say, ravenous beasts, than that moment to end my days, and that I may the better declare what happened to me during the grievous captivity. I shall particularly speak of the several moves we had up and down the wilderness. Yeah, people always think they're tough and then they flinch at the end. You know, people always say, well, I'm not going to live with this. I'm not going to live with that. They're just going to have to kill me. Then the time comes and they flinch. What I call flinching. I remember reading this. It's really good. We're going to continue. And I'm reminded that there's just all kinds of captivity narratives. But as a black man, of course, I read the classic ones. I read, and I still read, Frederick Douglass. I still read, is it Mary Prince? I still read the one from this one, is it Aquino? Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, I still read. So I read these narratives. I have a book, as a matter of fact, called Slave Narratives with the classics in it, but mostly black slaves. But I forget that you had white slaves that were taken by natives. You had natives who took black slaves. And you had Ottomans, or what Thomas Jefferson and them called Mohammedans, who took British and white sailors and stuff. So this should be cool, try to bring you different things, try to read different things, and we're gonna see, what it was like for her. Until next time, you know how to support. Hit the links. I guess I should say like and share. This podcast, this videos, and comment sometimes. Tell me what you think. If you're annoyed, not annoyed, hate the books, don't hate them, so I can see what's going on. Until then, take care of yourselves, and please, please, please be safe.